Before we talk about age, discounts, or even airplanes, I want to ask you something honestly. Have you ever finished a travel day completely exhausted and thought, there has to be an easier way to do this? If you have, you're not imagining things and you're not doing anything wrong. Welcome to the channel, and if this is your first time here, come on in and get comfortable. My name is Mila, and for the past 15 years, I've had the privilege of serving passengers at 35,000 feet as a flight attendant. Now I'm here on the ground to share what most airlines never explain clearly. Let's talk about the title of today's video because I know exactly what some of you are thinking. Flying after 70, these 11 airline benefits are hidden from you. It sounds like clickbait, right? It might sound like I'm about to tell you obvious things you already know, like requesting a wheelchair or carrying medication in your hand luggage. Or maybe you're thinking airlines don't hide benefits at all because they advertise everything they want to sell and charge for everything else. And you're right about one thing. Airlines absolutely love to advertise. They promote upgraded seats, extra legroom, priority boarding, Wi-Fi, and every paid add-on imaginable. But after 15 years inside this industry, I can tell you with complete certainty that not everything is advertised. The most valuable benefits, the ones that can turn a stressful travel day into a calm, dignified experience, are rarely mentioned on websites. They aren't discounts or promotional offers. They are discretionary services, internal protocols, and assistance options buried deep inside special request systems. Some of them aren't written down at all. They exist in crew training, in ground staff judgment, and in policies that are only activated when someone knows how to ask. These benefits stay quiet for a reason. Some require extra time, coordination, or staffing. Others depend on human discretion rather than automation. Airlines often assume that if someone truly needs these services, they'll somehow figure it out on their own. Today, that assumption ends. In this video, I'm pulling back the curtain and walking you through 11 real-world benefits available to senior travelers, but only if you know they exist and understand how to request them properly. We're not talking about luxury or entitlement. We're talking about dignity, safety, comfort, and getting the service you are already entitled to but may never be offered. These are the practical tools that remove unnecessary stress from travel, especially after 70, when comfort and clarity matter more than speed. If this kind of honest, real-world travel guidance is helpful to you, I invite you to subscribe and be part of this community. And please leave a comment sharing what worries you most when you fly or what you wish airlines handled better. I read every single one, and future videos are built from your questions. Let's start with the one benefit everyone thinks they understand: pre-boarding. We've all heard the announcement inviting passengers who need extra time to board early. What usually follows is confusion and hesitation. People wonder if they qualify, worry about holding up the line, or feel uncomfortable stepping forward. But here's the part most travelers miss. Pre-boarding isn't just about walking speed. Its real value is protecting critical items. I see this situation on almost every flight. A man in his 70s boards during general boarding, reaches his row, and finds the overhead bins completely full. Inside his carry-on is a CPAP machine or essential medication. The crew has no choice but to gate-check the bag. The panic that follows is real, because a gate-checked medical device can be lost, damaged, or delayed. Pre-boarding prevents this entirely by giving you first access to overhead space. Here's how you use it properly. When you arrive at the gate, don't wait for announcements. Approach the agent calmly and say, "Hello, I'm in seat 14B. I'm traveling with a medical device in my carry-on that must stay with me in the cabin. May I please pre-board to secure space for it?" You're not claiming frailty. You're stating a legitimate need. Most agents will immediately agree or instruct you where to wait. That one sentence removes confusion and protects what matters most. And once you understand how pre-boarding really works, the next hidden benefit becomes even more powerful because it involves seating options the booking system never shows you. Those seating options exist quietly in the background of every flight, and they can make an enormous difference in comfort if you know how to access them. Most travelers assume the seat map they see online is the full truth, but it isn't. Airlines intentionally block off certain seats and keep them out of the public booking system. These are not first-class upgrades, and they are not paid extra legroom seats. They are controlled seats, often bulkhead rows, or specific aisle seats near the front of the economy cabin, reserved for passengers with mobility or medical needs. Here's why this matters. Standard economy seats are designed for efficiency, not aging joints. If you have arthritis, a knee replacement, a leg brace, or chronic stiffness that makes bending painful, being locked into a narrow seat for hours can turn a flight into an ordeal. The system doesn't care about that unless you tell it to. Online booking tools will show those better seats as unavailable, making it seem like nothing can be done. That is not true. Those seats are held back specifically so they can be released to passengers who require accommodation. I once met a woman flying to meet her first grandchild who had been assigned a middle seat near the back of the aircraft. She had recently undergone knee surgery and was clearly in pain trying to settle into the cramped space. Her son had booked the ticket online and assumed that was the best available option. When I checked the manifest, I saw two bulkhead seats still being held by the gate. With a quick conversation and a few keystrokes, she was moved forward. The relief on her face was immediate. That seat had always been available, but the system required someone to ask. The key is how you ask and when. Do not try to resolve this at the gate if you can avoid it. Call the airline after you book your ticket. Have your reservation number ready and use precise language. Say, I am traveling with a mobility impairment and I require a seat that can accommodate it. I see that certain seats are blocked online. Can you please check availability for me? Avoid framing it as a comfort request. Comfort sounds optional. Accommodation signals necessity. That wording activates a different set of options in the agent's system. Food is another area where hidden assistance exists, and it's one many people overlook because they assume special meals are only about dietary restrictions. Most travelers know they can request vegetarian, diabetic, or low-sodium meals online. What many don't realize is that the issue for older passengers is often not what's being served, but how it's prepared. As dexterity changes, cutting food with flimsy utensils or chewing tough portions becomes difficult, and that can quietly strip away dignity. I've watched passengers return full trays untouched because they were embarrassed to ask for help. Airlines are equipped to prevent this, but the option is not clearly listed. Beyond the standard menu, airlines can provide soft meals or pre-cut meals when requested through the special assistance line. A soft meal includes items that require minimal chewing, while a pre-cut meal is exactly what it sounds like. The standard entree is prepared in bite-sized pieces before it ever reaches the tray. This is something that must be requested in advance. When you call the airline, say, I require a soft meal due to a medical condition, or I require a pre-cut meal due to difficulty with dexterity. That request is coded into your reservation and communicated to catering. When you board, discreetly confirm it with the crew so we can verify it's loaded correctly. That simple confirmation gives us time to fix issues before service begins. Medical devices introduce another layer of complexity, and here clarity matters. FAA-approved devices such as CPAP machines and portable oxygen concentrators are legally permitted on board. The confusion comes from how they are used. Power outlets at seats are not designed for medical devices, which means you must bring enough battery power for at least 1.5 times the duration of your flight. Approval for device use must be coordinated through the airline's medical desk, not standard reservations, and done at least 48 hours in advance. Medication that needs cooling creates anxiety because passengers are often told it cannot be stored in onboard refrigerators. That part is true. We cannot take custody of medication. But what many don't know is that we can support you in other ways. Ice is always available. Bringing a small cooler and sealable bags allows us to help you keep medication at a safe temperature throughout the flight by replenishing ice as needed. Once you understand these options, travel becomes less about enduring discomfort and more about managing the environment intelligently. And that awareness becomes even more powerful when we move beyond physical needs to something many travelers hesitate to admit, feeling overwhelmed in massive airports. That feeling of being overwhelmed has nothing to do with weakness and everything to do with how modern airports are designed. Terminals today are enormous, loud, visually crowded, and constantly changing. Signs point in multiple directions, announcements overlap, and a single wrong turn can send you walking half a mile in the wrong direction. Many senior travelers are perfectly capable of walking long distances, yet feel anxious about getting lost, missing a connection, or misreading a sign. That anxiety alone can drain energy faster than physical effort. Most people assume the only solution offered by airlines is a wheelchair, and that's where the hesitation begins. Requesting a wheelchair can feel like admitting to a limitation you don't feel. But here's the part most travelers don't know. You can request an escort without requesting a wheelchair. Airlines can provide a staff member whose sole responsibility is to meet you at your arrival gate and walk with you to your next gate, helping you navigate the terminal without rushing or confusion. I've seen this make the difference between a missed connection and a joyful reunion. I once watched a couple in their 80s miss a flight to their granddaughter's wedding because they walked to the wrong concourse. They were mobile, alert, and capable, but overwhelmed by the scale of the airport. By the time they realized the mistake, the gate had closed. The heartbreak was real and entirely preventable. On another flight, when I noticed a similar couple expressing concern about a tight connection, I arranged for an escort to meet them at the jet bridge. They walked calmly, arrived on time, and boarded without stress. You don't need a flight attendant to do this for you. When booking your ticket or calling the special assistance line, request ground assistance for connection support. If offered a wheelchair, you can politely decline and say, "I am mobile, but I am requesting an escort to help me navigate the airport." That phrasing matters. It clarifies your need without misrepresenting your ability. The service exists, and it is designed precisely for situations like this. Money stress is another factor that quietly affects confidence while traveling, especially around baggage fees. Airline rules are strict on paper, but discretion still exists at the counter. If your bag is slightly overweight or you're traveling with items related to health needs, how you approach the situation matters. Calm, respectful communication often opens doors that aggressive behavior slams shut. Agents are human, and kindness still counts. As these interactions show, many of the most helpful benefits aren't automatic. They depend on knowing what to ask for and how to frame the request. That same principle becomes even more critical once you're seated on the plane, where quiet communication with the crew can directly affect your safety and comfort. Once you're seated and the cabin settles into its rhythm, another overlooked benefit becomes available, and it depends entirely on communication rather than physical ability. Boarding is hectic for everyone, especially the crew. We're managing hundreds of passengers, safety checks, time pressure, and coordination with the flight deck. In that chaos, subtle needs can easily go unnoticed unless they are calmly communicated. There is a simple technique I encourage for travelers who carry health concerns or anxiety but don't want attention drawn to them. After takeoff, once the aircraft reaches cruising altitude and the seatbelt sign is off, press the call button once. When a flight attendant comes to your seat, quietly introduce yourself and share only what matters. Saying something like, "I don't need anything right now, but I want to let you know I'm diabetic," or "I sometimes get dizzy," or "I have a heart condition but I'm stable," gives us critical awareness without drama. This information allows the crew to monitor you discreetly. We don't hover or alarm other passengers. We simply check in more often and respond faster if something changes. I've seen situations where this quiet heads up prevented medical emergencies because the signs were recognized early. A passenger once mentioned his diabetes during boarding. Later, I noticed him staring blankly and looking pale. Because I already knew, I didn't need to question him loudly or create panic. I brought juice immediately, and within minutes, his condition stabilized. That quiet alert transformed what could have been a serious incident into a smooth intervention. Disruptions on the ground present another moment where hidden assistance becomes critical. When flights are delayed or canceled, chaos follows quickly. Screens flash red, lines form instantly, and frustration fills the terminal. During mass disruptions, airlines quietly triage passengers. This is not announced, but it happens. Unaccompanied minors, travelers with disabilities, and seniors are prioritized, but only if their needs are made visible. Standing silently at the back of a 200-person line often leads to long waits or overnight stays in the terminal. Instead, calmly approach the side of the service area and respectfully state your situation, saying, "I am traveling alone, I am over 70, and I have a medical condition," activates a different response protocol. This isn't line cutting, it's proper triage. I've watched passengers who spoke up be rebooked the same evening while others waited until morning simply because they didn't know this option existed. Clear, respectful self-advocacy changes outcomes. It ensures you aren't overlooked in systems designed for speed rather than nuance. That same principle applies to baggage handling when travel involves multiple airlines, which introduces another layer of stress if not managed carefully from the start. That stress often peaks when a journey involves more than one airline, because baggage logistics can quietly become the most physically demanding part of the day. Many travelers don't realize that checking bags across different carriers doesn't always require reclaiming and rechecking luggage mid-journey. This is where interline baggage assistance becomes one of the most valuable hidden services available to senior travelers. If your itinerary involves two airlines, even those that are not obvious partners, most major carriers have interline agreements that allow your bag to be checked through to your final destination. The catch is simple but critical. This service is almost never offered unless you ask. At your original check-in counter, you must present both reservations and clearly request that your bag be checked all the way through. Framing matters. Saying you are a senior traveler with a physically demanding connection often makes the difference because it signals a legitimate need rather than a convenience request. I've watched passengers arrive at large hubs completely panicked, realizing they would need to retrieve a heavy suitcase, move between terminals, stand in new lines, and repeat the entire process. When interline tagging is applied correctly, all of that disappears. You walk from plane to plane while your bag follows behind the scenes. It's not magic, just paperwork and awareness, but the relief it provides is enormous. Delays introduce another opportunity where quiet discretion can significantly improve comfort. Long gate delays turn terminals into crowded, noisy spaces with limited seating. For older travelers, standing or sitting on hard chairs for hours can cause pain and fatigue. This is where a courtesy lounge pass, while never guaranteed, becomes worth requesting. The key is timing and tone. Gate agents are often overwhelmed, but customer service desks have more flexibility. Calmly explaining that noise, crowding, and prolonged waiting are difficult can sometimes result in a one-time lounge access pass. This request isn't about entitlement. It's about risk management and compassion. Airlines understand that a calm passenger in a quiet space is far easier to manage than an exhausted one in a chaotic terminal. When granted, the benefit is transformative. Comfortable seating, clean restrooms, hydration, and quiet can reset your entire travel experience. As flights finally land, many travelers assume assistance ends at the gate. This is another misconception. Mobility and luggage support can continue through baggage claim and all the way to ground transportation if requested correctly in advance. Without that clarity, travelers are often left facing heavy suitcases alone, unsure how to safely retrieve them. Knowing these services exist changes how you plan. It replaces uncertainty with confidence and reduces physical strain at every stage. And once the final piece is in place, the journey doesn't end in exhaustion, but with dignity and calm. That calm ending is exactly what travel should feel like, especially after decades of experience, responsibility, and hard work. When assistance is requested properly, the final moments of a journey don't involve confusion, physical strain, or anxiety. Instead of standing helplessly near a carousel watching heavy bags circle past, support can continue until you are safely seated in a taxi, shuttle, or family car. This is not a courtesy reserved for a select few. It is a service that exists, but must be clearly specified when assistance is booked. Saying you require help from the aircraft through baggage claim and onward to ground transportation ensures the process doesn't stop halfway. I've watched too many senior travelers look relieved when they land, only to feel overwhelmed again as the hardest physical task begins. Retrieving luggage is often the most demanding part of the entire trip. When handled correctly, that burden disappears. The agent stays with you, identifies your bag, lifts it safely, and escorts you through the final stretch. The difference this makes to comfort and confidence cannot be overstated. When you step back and look at all 11 of these benefits together, a clear pattern emerges. None of them are automatic. None of them appear clearly on booking screens, and none of them are reserved for special status or expensive tickets. They exist quietly inside airline systems, waiting for travelers who know how to activate them. The single most powerful action is not paying more or enduring discomfort. It is asking clearly, politely, and at the right moment. Traveling after 70 should not feel like an endurance test. It should feel like the beginning of something meaningful, whether that's a long-awaited vacation, a family reunion, or simply the joy of seeing the world on your own terms. Experience brings wisdom, and wisdom deserves systems that work with you, not against you. When you understand how airlines actually operate, stress loses its grip. If this information helps you feel more confident about flying, or if it helps someone you love travel with less fear and more dignity, then it has done its job. This community grows stronger every time knowledge is shared. If you've discovered a hidden benefit of your own or learned a lesson the hard way, sharing it may help someone else avoid the same struggle. Thank you for spending this time here and for trusting these insights from years spent watching travel from the inside. Wherever your next journey takes you, may it begin calmly, move smoothly, and end with the same sense of peace you deserve when you arrive.